We're wrapping up 2023, and there were some changes in 2023 for the United States Army, or has been some changes depending on when you're watching this video. But let's talk about some of the things that happened in 2023. What changes have been made for the United States Army? Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion down in the comment section down below. So make sure you're commenting down below of if there's something that you like that they changed, maybe something I didn't mention, whatever the case is, let me know in the comments. But let's get into certain things. And I got 4 that we'll kind of highlight. The first one is the Army recruiting ribbon. So I know some people had talked crap on it. I did do a video on it, so maybe a card pops up that you can check out if you want to learn about that video, or maybe I have a link down in the description box down below for that video that I did for the Army recruiting ribbon. But I mean, it's got some good stuff. Maybe, some people may rag on it. You got the ribbon here that you can, wear on your uniform if you manage to get someone to join the Army and they ship off to basic training. Whether they complete basic training or not, that's really, not relevant. It's more important that they actually ship off to basic training than you get credit for it. But I think there's some great incentives with that, right? That was a new change in 2023 to try to combat the whole problem that the Army is having with, trying to get people to join the military, trying to get people to join the Army. So trying to make soldiers kind of like recruiters, trying to get them to recruit their buddies, their friends, or whatever to join the Army. One of the ones that I really liked with this was the ability to kind of jump up in rank. If you manage to recruit somebody, so if you're like a private first class and you don't have enough time in the Army yet to make E4, well, if you recruit somebody, you can get that waiver to automatically just jump to E4 to make specialist. And, that's, I think, pretty helpful. So I liked that one for that one. But let me know what you think of the whole Army recruiting ribbon. And if you haven't seen the video, check it out. Another thing that changed in 2023 is the changes of the Army installations. A little bit controversial on some ends. Some people, like the changes. Some people hate the changes. There's definitely a lot of, different sides to this, but nonetheless, they had to make the changes due to a lot of Army installations and other installations for other branches that were named after Confederate leaders. So they had already discussed that in 2022, but in 2023 was when all those had to come into effect to actually change the names of those installations to make sure that they had been changed before 2024 comes. So all those did happen, and we got all these different names. We got like Fort Moore, Fort Liberty, Fort Eisenhower. All these have now been changed. We got Fort Cavazos instead of Fort Hood, and all these other crazy ones, right? I think some people hate the Fort Liberty one. I've heard a lot of people with backlash. I think it's what used to be Fort Bragg became Fort Liberty, right? Fort Cavazos now, was what used to be Fort Hood, right? And you have all sorts of ones, but Fort Barefoot, Fort Johnson, Fort Novacell, and all of these ones, right? I also have a video that talks about these, so link in the description, maybe a card pops up if you want to learn about, a little bit more in depth with these name changes, the video that I did on that. But nonetheless, they had to change, based on what Congress said. Congress put out that these installations, these ships, these all this other stuff, these streets, all sorts of things could no longer be named after these Confederate leaders. So they changed. A lot of people, like for me, for example, I guess I don't care either way. I guess it's not going to really affect, the lifestyle on that post or whatever. It does cost a lot of money to change all that stuff out. But like, let's say Fort Benning, for example, I had no idea who the hell Benning was. Maybe that's just me, right? I'm not that big into history. Maybe certain people do know who, Fort Benning is named after, and they didn't like that it's a Confederate leader or whatever the case was. But for me, it was just Fort Benning. That's where I went to basic training at. I didn't know who the person was it was named after. Didn't really care who the person was that it was named after. But all the names had to change. So those all changed. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comment section down below. If you hated it, loved it, neutral, don't really care either way, let me know. A change that I actually liked they made in 2023 is the slogans, right? We had the "What's Your Warrior," the "Warriors Wanted," whatever it was for the last one. It kind of jumped back and forth, pretty rapidly with those ones. But going back to the old school, "Be All You Can Be," and I like that one. We even changed the logo a little bit too, right? Instead of the like how I have on the screen right now with the Army veteran, logo and everything like that, it went to this more of a simplified kind of star, which is very similar to the old school Army logo. The old school Army logo was kind of something similar to this with like a circle around it, right? And so that's very similar to like the old school days too, right? Back before I was even in the Army. I always kind of known it. I think the Army of One is when they kind of introduced the box shaped kind of one with the star inside of it. But they went to that logo, but then going to the "Be All You Can Be," right? You have the whole new campaign they did. They had the whole crazy one with Jonathan Majors, which I liked the commercial, but of course you had the controversy behind the actual actor itself, which I believe that did come back as a guilty verdict, right, recently. So, they obviously had to pull that, right, to kind of avoid the negative press. I mean, the whole goal here is to try to increase recruiting and try to get people to want to join, and you don't want to add extra controversy behind an actor, I guess, that's playing the role to be in these commercials. It was a great commercial, but I get it. You have this crazy controversy, with that individual. It did turn out to him being guilty. Some people definitely argued that they didn't like that they were pulling him from him before he had a chance to prove himself innocent or be proven guilty or whatever. Did come back as guilty, but the Be All You Can Be campaign, you have some other commercials they made since then, which they're okay. I wouldn't find them super motivating. A lot of it's like people sitting on a bus and you're driving past basic training, you're showing up to basic training. And I do like some of the subtle, like Be All You Can Be music that they've been adding into the background, but nonetheless, I haven't seen just yet anything really cool out of the Be All You Can Be commercials. Hopefully in 2024, we'll have some really cool commercials for that. So, what are your thoughts, on the new slogan going back to Be All You Can Be? I personally like it, but maybe some people rather have kept the Warriors Wanted, or What's Your Warrior, or maybe gone back to Army Strong or Army of One or something completely different. Let me know down in the comment section as well. But I like Be All You Can Be, so I'm happy that they went back to the Be All You Can Be one. And then the last one that we'll mention is the change of Sergeant Major of the Army, right? The Sergeant Major of the Army has changed to now it's Michael Weimer. He's got like a Special Forces background. He's got all sorts of cool stuff. I haven't seen a whole lot yet from him to see if he's going to make some awesome changes or bad changes, whatever. Not that I've noticed anyways. There might have been some subtle changes here that maybe I just didn't notice, but nonetheless, it'll kind of come down to that key factor of, does he make some great changes that people enjoy, that people like, that people, are excited about being in the Army, right? I mean, we saw a lot of changes with the previous Sergeant Major of the Army where he changed like a lot of stuff for females, like the ponytail policy and stuff. Other things like, certain hair regulations for women. There was, I guess, the clear nail polish thing that he did and stuff like that. The biggest thing everybody's always wanting is beards. Everybody's wanting to add beards and wondering if this Sergeant Major is going to be the next person to be able to, make that change to allow soldiers to have beards, which I don't think so. On a side note with that, I have seen a lot of soldiers with beards. There's a lot of other policies that soldiers are finding that then kind of, allow them to have beards due to religion and all sorts of other stuff. So I'm actually seeing a lot more soldiers with beards compared to back in the day when it was basically just a few people here and there who had shaven profiles. But I'm starting to actually see a lot of soldiers with beards and pretty long beards too in the Army. But nonetheless, we have this new Sergeant Major of the Army. He only, I think, took kind of that position in mid 2023. So maybe not a whole lot of time just yet. Maybe still kind of working into things. Maybe we'll see some bigger changes in 2024 from the new Sergeant Major of the Army. So we'll kind of have to wait and kind of find out. I'd especially like to know, like maybe from like those of you that are currently in the Army, right? Have you noticed anything with the new Sergeant Major of the Army compared to the previous Sergeant Major of the Army? Something that maybe you liked or didn't like or whatever. I'd like to hear your comments down below of what are your thoughts on this new SMA, this new Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army Weimer. But there you go. There's some major changes. There's a lot of other things that I've seen. There's some policy changes. There's some things with like, child care and all sorts of stuff that happened in 2023. But without going off on a lot of things that changed in 2023, I want to cover some of the main ones that maybe were big topics that people were talking about for changes in 2023. And we still have 2024 now. Now, what's going to change in 2024? I'd like to hear in the comment section down below what you would like to see change in 2024. So let me know. Will it be beards? Will it be allowing males to grow the hair longer? Will it be this or that? I don't know. We'll have to kind of see what kind of changes. I feel like, they're going to need to make some kind of changes if they want to, increase their recruitment numbers, right? They're going to need to see something that's enticing people to want to join. I would like to see improvement to barracks, but the problem with that is that it takes a while to reconstruct those buildings, to modify those buildings to make better barracks. But that is a change I would like to see. Maybe not something they could do in one whole year, but they could start that implementation, because I think that's another drawback that people hate is, they're kind of rushed into marriage, or they, don't like the life of the single soldiers, living in the barracks in the Army. They see that the Air Force got so much better living conditions. So I don't know, maybe some improvements to like living conditions. But those are just my thoughts. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed so you can get more information, more videos about the United States Army, and some military videos that are thrown in there as well. I'm Christopher Chaos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.